One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report he paves his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful Fuck It Friday. Great to see everyone in the chat, by the way. Let's get it this morning. We have a freak ton to get through this morning. We're easily going to be going into overtime today. So make sure you guys hit that like button, man. Definitely goes a long way. Double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. All right, so let's go ahead and just get on with the title and then showing you guys the chronological breakdown of what we're looking at this morning. So Operation Epic Fury update, we have, Pete Hegseth and General Kane that are over there in the Pentagon. They had their conference this morning, so we're going to be showing that to you guys here actually at the end because of a chronological timeline of what's happened since yesterday to now, blah, blah, blah. So one of the latest things we're going to be showing is of course, the Pentagon press conference over there, but that'll be at the end. Anyways, and then we have a third aircraft carrier has now arrived over there in the Middle East. That's a big thing, actually. That's big signs of escalation, not necessarily de-escalation, right? And then we have a Polymarket scandal. So we actually reported on this, I think, yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before, actually. But nonetheless, we had reported that there was, the Polymarket thing where some person bet on Maduro being thrown out of office or taken out of office or whatever the case is a day before it actually happened. And then I guess he made like $500,000 or something like that. I don't know. But nonetheless, it was actually a U.S. soldier. That's who it was making the bet. And it makes sense because somebody from the inside, such as the military, probably knows like, hey, we're about to go do this. We just heard that. So I'm going to go bet my money on this because I see that this is something that's a bettable position. Anyways, so let's go ahead and give you guys what we're looking at this morning. We have New Orleans Festival. There was a mass shooting thwarted, investigators say. So let's go ahead and see what it's saying in the description here. It says a man was arrested in Florida. So it was over there. Actually, it happened in New Orleans, but he got arrested in Florida, I guess. Arrested in Florida Wednesday after authorities say they found information suggesting he planned he planned to do it, didn't actually show up. I see. Commit a mass shooting at a festival in New Orleans. So it was literally thwarted before the guy even got there. So understood. All right. And then we have Warner Brothers shareholders approve $81 billion Paramount takeover. Now, we were talking about this a few months ago regards Warner Brothers and Paramount. And there was this like complication of who's going to buy whatever. But it shows now Warner Brothers shareholders approve Paramount's $81 billion takeover. And then we have Iran exiled Crown Prince attacked with juice. I don't know what juice means. When they say that, it says Iran's exiled Crown Prince spoke at an event in Berlin, Germany on Thursday, where he criticized the ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran. And As he was leaving, a man approached and threw a red liquid on him, believed to be tomato juice. The attacker was quickly detained and taken away. Yeah, guys, by the way, you can't just throw liquids and shit like that onto governmental officials. You don't do that. That's not going to end well for you. And it's not cool for the other person that's taken. I'm just honest. I mean, beat them with their own argument. You don't need to go and attack them. Okay, and then we have 10 injured and 2 critical in shooting at Mall of Louisiana. Now, this is a whole separate ordeal. At least 10 people were injured, including 2 in critical condition in a shooting Thursday at the Mall of Louisiana, authorities said. Now, we have the update on this whole case as well, and so far, it's not 10 injured and 2 critically 2 in critical. Now it's 10 injured, 1 critical, and 1 death so far. That's what we're looking at least from the latest reporting that I saw. And then we have Trump announces Israel-Lebanon ceasefire to be extended for 3 weeks. We actually were talking about the possible timeline yesterday. And so I'm glad that after the show, basically, this came out, and we're going to discuss that ceasefire, the 3-week ceasefire between Israel and Iran here in a minute. Then we have a major shift on marijuana. Trump reclassifies cannabis as lower risk drug. So he took it from Schedule 3 or Schedule 1 and brought it down to Schedule 3. Now, you guys may remember when Trump actually did an executive order earlier. I think it was in 2025. I think he did that late 2025. Anyways, he had an executive order to reclassify cannabis as a Schedule 3. Now, people were like, well, now it's a Schedule 3 now. No, it never changed. Basically, the executive order from Trump is merely a suggestion to the Department of the DOJ, right? So the Department of Justice, it has to go through them. Everything has to be like, it can't just be made by the president. So it was a suggestion to the DOJ. So now the DOJ really did change that shit yesterday, and that was a major, major win for Americans, in my opinion, by the way. All right, and then we're going to be getting into Iran war. 3rd U.S. aircraft carrier arrives in the Middle East, just like I told you guys when we very first started up on, we were reading the title of the show. And then, of course, Israel-Lebanon ceasefire extended by 3 weeks, Trump says. We know that. And then U.S. soldier charged with betting on Maduro mission on Polymarket. This is what we were talking about. Trump got asked a question yesterday or the day before. I really can't remember. But he got asked a question about this Polymarket thing. He was at the White House. I think it was yesterday. Some reporter asked, hey, you know, there was this guy that on the Polymarket thing, you know, bet right before Maduro was taken out, made money, blah, blah, blah. Like, is this something that you guys are going to investigate? Now, we played that clip even on our show, I believe, yesterday. Anyways, now Trump said, well, I'm going to investigate that. I'll look into that, right? And so quickly, within just a couple of hours, the same day, some shit was going down. Well, now that same U.S. soldier is now being charged with betting on Maduro mission on Polymarket. Wow. Then we have Iran, quote, must stop funding Hezbollah to reach deal, Trump says. President Donald Trump said Thursday, which is yesterday, obviously, that Iran must stop funding Hezbollah in order to reach a potential deal to stop the war with Tehran, which is Iran. It comes as Israeli and Lebanon officials joined Trump in the Oval Office to announce that the ceasefire between the two countries has been extended for 3 weeks. Then, of course, last but not least, then we're going to be getting into Hegseth on Iran war. Quote, we will shoot to destroy. And this is with General Kane over there at the Pentagon. And so that's what we're looking at this morning. So real quick, before we get into the craziness, let's go ahead and do our call to actions, go right into it. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side, and also hit that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And then, of course, members only on Saturday morning, which is tomorrow, by the way. Now, speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $3.99 a month. We're making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. It's what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as the campaign trail, man. Make sure you guys hit me up over there. And we have a Discord server for all of you legends. Go into the video description down below, and that is where all the invite links for the Discord is. Make sure you guys join up. We continued the discussion when the show's over, since we usually only last about an hour. Today it's going to be overtime. We're going to be going into like probably an hour and a half. That's where I'm looking at, probably. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, by the way, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen. And of course, at any time, you guys can send a donation to those. And I get 100% of the proceeds, as well as I'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a super chat. All right, real quick, we got to give a special shout out to Virginia Chaos, sending out 5 gifted memberships this morning. My man coming in clutch, showing a little love. And listen, if you guys are getting any gifted memberships, especially today, I mean, because tomorrow is members only. So make sure that if you guys get a membership gifted to you guys, make sure you thank the person that's gifting them, as well as show up tomorrow morning, man. It's a great time. We don't discuss any of this shit. You know, we actually try to have a good time, laugh, good reaction, stuff like that, So anyways, thank you again for that, Virginia Chaos. We got Prez in the building. We got Naomi. Always appreciate Naomi in the building. Thank you for hanging out with us. We got my man, Virginia Chaos, as well as Brother So Loud. Yes, sir. We got Steve Easy, as well as Easy Frank. Yes, sir. The Easies. We got Sick Bastard. Shout out to my man. We got Gary as well. Great to see you in the chat. Scrolling down as fast as possible, we got Mr. Bill Castle over there on the West Coast, over there in the state of Washington. Let me go ahead and cough real quick. See how I muted myself? All right. We got Mr. Jack Talcott over there. Always appreciate you, kind sir. Blessings to you, kind sir. We got Pedalverse. Jack, great to see you in the chat, by the way. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning. We got Mr. Huggy. Yes, sir. Great to see you as well. Rolling our way down, CMC, TNT. Yes, sir. We got Shyla as well. Great to see you. Good morning. Good morning. We're running our way down as fast as possible, I promise. We got TVT as well as Tiffany. Good morning to you guys. Thank you for being here. We got 2L Jesus as well. Liquored Up a Poncho. Yes, sir, my man. Always appreciate you guys. Rolling our way down as fast as possible. It's a lot. We got Mr. Lee Lance. Yes, sir. Good morning to you. And Duke Rose. It's been a minute. Great to see you in the chat, man. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into the craziness. We're going to go ahead and start this off with New Orleans Festival mass shooting was thwarted, investigators say. Now, this basically that means the government intercepted before it happened. They were planning it out, and they intercepted it before it even happened. So this whole thing was supposed to happen over there in New Orleans, and the guy got found over there in Florida making the plans to do it. And so here we go.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time is 10:23 over on the East Coast and 7:23 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'll be here for the next several hours as we break down all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Right now, I do want to get you to some breaking news that we are following here at this hour, and it involves several different states. We're talking Florida as well as Louisiana and North Carolina. Take a look at these photos here.
That's awesome, Titan, by the way.
That are just coming into the newsroom along with the information. Now, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office in Florida, that's over in the state's panhandle, reporting that investigators...
Wow, we got a special shout out that we got to give real quick. My man, Virginia Chaos, always showing so much love, by the way. This man has shown extreme amount of love. I'm very, very honored, by the way. Thank you for that. VC coming in saying, it's Friday. Have a good weekend, brother, with the $20 on the Cash App. Let's go, bro. Definitely just made my Friday just a lot better. So I very much appreciate that. Thank you for making it rain, my man.
Arrested a man who had planned to carry out a mass shooting at a festival in New Orleans, and some reports there say he was headed there at the time. Florida officials saying the suspect seen in the photos here, Christopher Gillum, is from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The Louisiana Department of Public Safety had been looking for Gillum, they say. Now, they said that they had information that he planned to travel to a festival.
And you know what, Virginia Chaos, that is, it gives an extra, even though it's a complete honor, it really, really is. But that's why I take this so serious, because you're not the only person either. Granted, I think that everybody should go and collect their, I always advise everybody, go research, do all, all of that kind of thing. But the truth is it adds a layer of responsibility onto me, which that's why I take this so fucking serious. Even though, yes, my language isn't everybody's language, but I definitely do hone in on the facts and what's important, you know. So thank you very much for that, Virginia.
In New Orleans to conduct a mass shooting, then planned to die by suicide. Now, at this point, we have not been told what festival.
So he actually confessed that he was, well, that's what they are saying they found. I haven't seen said evidence yet, but what they're reporting is that the guy planned on doing this mass shooting and then killing himself.
This was, what the date was that this was set for. But again, officials saying they thwarted that plan. As far as what they found, investigators say they searched Gillum's hotel room in Destin, and they found a handgun and about 200 rounds of ammo. That's a photo there provided by the sheriff's office.
Listen,
and again,
man,
that is the suspect.
I'm so sorry. 200 rounds and a handgun is not enough. Like, really? Come on, man. Everybody in Alabama does that shit. I mean, I got an AR in my trunk. I got a pistol in my fucking side. You know, bro, give me a break. You think that I only got a couple of 100 rounds? Come on, man. Maybe a couple thousand. You know, what I'm traveling with? Maybe 1,000. Maybe 1,000. We got our counterclockwise tobacco. We got ourselves lit up. We're feeling good. Now, this guy, though, I got to admit, if you look at this guy, though, he definitely just looks like a suspect. Okay, just saying. I know that's judgmental. I'm just saying the guy looks like a suspect.
Who is currently being held, we're told, in jail and then be transported over to Louisiana.
Thank you for that.
Now, Okaloosa County deputies say they determined that Gillum was in the area using their county's camera system known as Flock, and they took him into custody at a hotel there in Destin, where they found the different materials they say were going to be used to carry out.
And in Destin's such a nice place too.
Attack. Again, the investigation is an active one. It's not quite clear just yet what this man is charged with and when he will appear in court. As we get all of that information, we will make sure to keep you updated right here on Live Now.
But luckily, Prez, they caught this guy before he even did it. So anyways, that was the end of that. That was a very quick little update from them. Of course, we'll follow it if there's any more developments, but I'm sure there probably won't be that many mainstream follows on that story. We'll see. We'll see, though. It just depends on what comes out from the evidence. Anyways, we got to move over. We got a lot to get through. And even this, we're gonna fly by this too. Warner Brothers shareholders approve $81 billion Paramount takeover. Now, we discussed this, I think, honestly, I remember talking about it a few months ago, and nothing really came of it. Now, here, finally, I guess Warner Brothers got the shareholders' approval on Paramount's $81 billion takeover.
Right now, we want to take you out to some breaking news that we are following with the help of the Associated Press, as an $81 billion Warner-Paramount mega merger has now received shareholder stamp of approval, propelling a deal that could vastly reshape Hollywood and the wider media landscape closer to the finish line. Again, a post here on your screen coming in from the Associated Press. Per a preliminary vote count that happened a short time.
Yes. Also, just like Naomi says, make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. There's a lot of craziness happening in the world, but you guys can like it for me and what we're doing here.
The overwhelming majority of Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders voted in support of selling the entire business to Paramount for $31 a share. That's according to the company. Including debt, the deal is valued at nearly $111 billion. Skydance owned Paramount wants to buy all of Warner, and that means HBO Max, cult favorite titles like Harry Potter, even CNN, could soon find themselves under the same roof with CBS, Top Gun, and the Paramount Plus streaming service. A green light from company shareholders increases the likelihood of that becoming a reality. But the deal still faces ongoing regulatory reviews, including from the U.S. Department of Justice. Warner said it expects to close the deal sometime during the third fiscal quarter. Paramount's quest for Warner has been far from smooth sailing overall, and while Warner's board now endorses the Paramount merger, it wasn't always eager to enter into this partnership here.
Well, of course not, especially when shareholders are involved. All right, so is there going to be any other information on this?
Late last week, Warner rebuffed Paramount's overtures to instead strike a $72 billion studio and streaming deal with Netflix. Paramount, meanwhile, went directly to shareholders with...
You know, I find it kind of funny because movies don't make as much money as they used to. I think we have exited out of that realm of like billion-dollar movies and flicks and all that shit. Like, I don't think that there are money makers like that anymore. They may have used to be, but now I mean, yes, movies are still a big moneymaker, but not as big as it used to be. I think it's kind of a dying thing to an extent. Or I shouldn't say dying. I should say a downward slope.
Hostile bid to take over the whole company, including the cable business that Netflix did not want. All three companies spent months fighting publicly.
Always appreciate you, Brother Lee.
Over who had the better offer on the table. Warner's board repeatedly backed Netflix's bid, but eventually Paramount offered more money and Netflix abruptly bowed out of the race rather than prolonging that fight. The corporate drama may now be over, but the implications remain here as thousands of actors, directors, writers, and other industry professionals have voiced, quote, unequivocal opposition to that deal in a letter.
I was about to say the merge would already be difficult enough, even if every director, every employee, everybody, management was already aligned and saying, yes, we're wanting to do this. Even then, that's going to come with issues. And he was just saying right there that basically there's a lot of issues. A lot of people have voiced their concerns over it. We got So Loud coming in with the $9.99, coming in with the 10 spot saying, money me now. Yes, sir. I very much appreciate you, my man, making it rain in the chat. I very much appreciate that. Let's go ahead and bring up the money part because he is right.
All right, just get the money part done. All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Brother So Loud, I very much appreciate the 10 spot, my man. And I'm not sure why StreamYard lately has been glitching when you play videos. If you do the dual streaming like I do, vertical and horizontal, for some reason, when you go to play the video, it works on one side, but it doesn't work on the other. So that's been kind of an issue we've been running in. But it's not a big deal. We just click over to another video and then click back, So anyways, we got Mr. Dylan Patterson coming in hot, by the way, as well as hopefully you're enjoying your Fuck It Friday so far. And yes, So Loud is definitely coming in hot. All right, here we go. Back to this.
Arguing that further consolidation will lead to job losses and fewer choices for filmmakers and moviegoers. Again, that $81 billion Warner-Paramount mega merger has now received the shareholder stamp of approval, and we'll see how everything plays out.
And of course, we will be reporting on all of those developments that happen from that whole ordeal. We'll let you guys know as the days go on, as the stories come rolling in. All right, we're going to move into this next ordeal. Iran exiled crown prince attacked with juice, and they seem to think it was tomato juice, it says. It was like some red liquid they quoted.
Right there on the right-hand side of your screen, taking a live look via marine traffic, showing the situation right now in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I do want to take this full as we go over the latest information coming in on Operation Epic Fury. President Trump a short time ago declaring that the U.S. Navy will not hesitate.
That's very true, Virginia Chaos. That's very true. And trust me, gas is very, very expensive nowadays, as you guys know. And I could definitely use the dollar, the dollar to go ahead and buy a little bit extra gas.
To shoot and kill anyone on a boat placing mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Let me pop up this statement that came in from Truth Social a short time ago here. He said, I have ordered the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill any boat.
Hey, Magic Man, thank you for the 100 emoji gift over there. Very much appreciate that, making it rain.
Small boats, though they may be, their naval ships are all 159 of them at the bottom of the sea that is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. There is to be no hesitation. Additionally, our minesweepers are clearing the strait right now. I am hereby ordering that activity to continue, but at a tripled up level. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President.
A tripled up level.
Donald J. Trump. Once again, a live look here in the Strait of Hormuz at this hour, as this all comes as the tension continues to build over the opening and closing of the strait, and with a, quote, indefinite extension of the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. Amid that ceasefire, reports started to circulate on Wednesday that President Trump had set a new deadline of, quote, 3 to 5 days for Iran to make a deal, and White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt disputing that reporting.
Their regime and many of its leaders for nearly
we also reported this yesterday.
5 decades have been wiped off of the face of planet Earth. So again, the president's offering them a little bit of flexibility because we want to see a unified proposal to the president's very strong proposal. The president has
now what they're basically getting at here is Iran came up. And as you guys see right here, the IRGC or whatever came alongside of a couple of, or actually I think it was 3 different cargo vessels, and boarded them on a video and basically took over those ships. Now, what I think is happening is I really do think that this was a sign of strength, like a show of strength, essentially. Like it's theatrics. I think that it happened on purpose the way that it did. The reason why Caroline Leavitt said this is not an act of war is because these 3 ships that got boarded by the IRGC, they didn't board or take over any American flagged U.S. flagged ships. So Caroline Leavitt stated that's not an act of war. Well, truthfully, the Strait of Hormuz is an international strait. So any type of boarding like this theoretically would be an act of war. Theoretically. Caroline Leavitt is thinking from the America only standpoint, saying, well, they weren't American flagged ships, so it's not an act of war. So that's what they're showing here.
Not set a deadline himself. Ultimately, he will dictate the timetable. He is satisfied with the naval blockade, and he understands that Iran is in a very weak position, and the cards are in President Trump's hands right now.
And of course, right there, you were listening to Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. In the meantime, take a look here as Iran's exiled crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, who criticized those peace talks, was hit with a, quote, red liquid this morning after speaking over in Berlin. Now, this is some of the video, and you'll see a photo in a second provided by the Associated Press and Fox News showing the aftermath. And you can see there what appears to be a potential.
There it is. It looks like tomato paste or whatever. It doesn't look like tomato juice. It looks like tomato paste.
Actually, tomato juice there on the back of his jacket. Reporters at the scene capturing the attacker, who was immediately there, taken away by police. And Pahlavi, as you saw, kept walking and waved to the crowd. Moments earlier, he argued that the talks between...
Actually, her direct answer was it's not a U.S. flag or Israeli flagged ship. I think that's literally what her answers were. So, yes, the energy would have been a lot different. And she even admitted it would have been a lot different.
The U.S. and Iran assume that the Iranian government's behavior will change, and he says it will not.
The whole narrative of ceasefire negotiation is still based on thinking that somehow the behavior is not going to
What's up, Doomerang? Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
change, and you're going to deal with people who all of a sudden have become pragmatists. I don't see that happening. I'm not saying that diplomacy should not be given a chance, but I think diplomacy has been given enough chance, and every time it has had setbacks. This is time to readjust your foreign policies, to think that this regime is a solution at the end. The solution is the liberation
Man, that's a pretty thick soup.
of a nation that is asking you to take their side for once. For 47
Carrie's over there at the dentist. Man, that sucks. But get it handled. Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
years, the people of Iran have not been part of the equation.
That's right,
All right,
Steve.
of course, that was Reza Pahlavi, the exiled crown prince there in Iran. Now, there is so much to discuss here, so I do...
Now, we're only going to hear this guy's opening monologue here. We're not going to hear, the questions back and forth from Josh and all that stuff. We're going to hear his opening here on this situation, and then we're going to move on. We got way too much to get through.
I want to bring in a great friend of the show. We have Javed Ali over at the University of Michigan. Thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to be here with us.
Josh, nice to be with you. We haven't spoken in a few weeks.
It's been a couple weeks here, and there's been a lot, and that's probably an understatement, of developments to talk about. And first, I want to talk about that post that I was reading by President Trump, where he essentially said that the U.S. Navy would shoot and kill any of the boats, the people there aboard the boats, who are placing mines over in the strait. What do you make of that statement overall?
So the situation in the Strait of Hormuz right now, this is sort of ground zero for the tension that's playing out, because as we know, Iran has tried to interfere with shipping and close off the transit of ships over the past several weeks. And they think, I asked that the Iranians believe that that is the leverage that they have, not only over the United States, but basically the leverage they have on the globe.
Over the world, right. And we've already talked about all this. We already know all of this, Javi or whatever your fucking name is. Hey.
Why are you gay?
Anyways, we also already showed this right here from Trump. This came out yesterday. I have ordered the United States Navy to shoot and kill any boat, small boats, though they may be, quote, or in parentheses, their naval ships are all 159 of them at the bottom of the sea. That is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. There is to be no hesitation. Additionally, our mine sweepers are clearing the strait right now. I am hereby ordering that activity to continue, but at a tripled up level. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, we're going to move on here. So we have a sad story that happened yesterday. There was a mass shooting at a mall, it says at least 10 people were injured, and they said at the time, including 2 in critical condition. But the update on that is I believe that it's 10 injured, 1 in critical, and 1 now unfortunately passed. That's the update. So let's go ahead and bring this up and figure out what's happening. They got a little press conference here.
We had a massive law enforcement and
it's at the Mall of Louisiana.
Medical response come thanks to all our responding agencies, everybody from the Sheriff's Office, the St. George, State Police, and even FBI came to help to respond to this. We got here very quickly, secured the scene. No more active shooting.
Yep, he sure did, Steve. For sure, but there's definitely more boats out there. We got Rebecca as well. Good morning to you. Well, great to see you in the chat. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning so far. We got Roland, Brother Dean. Shout out to my man. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat as well. Make sure you guys get the likes up. Just double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side.
Going on. We started treating victims until EMS got here. EMS got here very quickly and were able to transport victims away from the scene within minutes. What we found out looking through surveillance videos, it looks like it was kind of a targeted 2 groups of people got into an argument inside the food court and started shooting at each other. Unfortunately.
So literally it happened over an argument. 2 random dudes didn't know each other, get into a heated argument, and then start blasting at people. Well, I mean, at themselves, essentially, right? But then in the middle of doing that, killing or hurting 10 people and then killing 1 and critically injuring another.
There were some innocent people that were in the area that might have also caused some rounds. Right now, we have 10 victims at local area hospitals, some transported by EMS and some arriving by private vehicle. Definitely our hearts and prayers go out to all the victims involved in this, various level of injuries.
You know what, Doomerang, I fucking 100% agree with this shit.
And we're going to keep giving y'all updates as we get them.
Make food courts great again.
Right now, we don't know. We have, at least a couple of them that are in trauma going through surgery. So we don't have an exact number right now. We'll give you those numbers as soon as they become available.
Parking lot's still full of vehicles. Are you still working to get customers, people who are in the mall at the time, out of the mall?
Yeah, so as we get some resources kind of freed up, we're still, going through the mall, making sure we don't have people that lock down and hide and make sure that they're safe and okay. And we're going to start trying to just evacuate the whole area. We had a big crime scene set up in case suspects were on feet in the area, looking at canals. We got helicopters, drones, all those kind of resources. So we had everything locked down, not wanting anybody to leave, but we're going to start opening that up as soon as we can.
Are you guys?
How many?
Real quick, Steve says, I always hated the gay mall. Listen, when it comes down to shopping in general, homie, okay, unless we're talking like motorcycle parts or some shit, or like at a gun store, aside from those small little like exceptions to the rule, the exception does not make the rule. Shopping in general is gay all the way around.
Why are you gay?
I hate it. Grocery shopping, malls, shopping for clothes, all that shit's for the bees, dude. Yeah, I don't need that.
Weapons that were used. You said shooting at each other. Yeah, we don't know right now. We're looking through
What's
all
up,
the
Steve
surveillance
Posey? Good
video,
morning.
Climbing through crime scenes processing, looking at shell casings that were on the scene. Anybody that has any help, please plead out to the community right now. If you know anything, please call Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous, 344-STOP. If you have any information that you can give us.
Do you believe there's any threat to the public at all?
No, right now, there is no known threat to the public. Right here is the safest place in Baton Rouge, in this area. But as we start developing suspects, we're going to run down every single lead that we can to get these people in custody. But it does not appear to be just a random act of violence, but a very targeted kind of disagreement between 2 groups of people. How many people in those 2 groups? Right now, I don't want to kind of release that information because it's really preliminary.
Do we know the age ranges of the victims at all?
No, not right now.
So that's what I was waiting for, is to see what the age of the victims were. That's what I was kind of caring about right there. And unfortunately, he has not let out that information yet. So everything leading up to this point is where we're going to get the facts, basically, of what's happening. Everything else here, that the remaining 4 minutes of this video, truthfully, is him going to be saying, I can't answer this. I can't answer this. The information that I've put out there is the only information I can put. So Attorney General Liz Murrill put out a X post. I've spoken to the District Attorney Hiller Moore, who is actively monitoring the situation involving a weapon or weapons being discharged in the food court at the Mall of Louisiana. Multiple law enforcement agencies are responding. Please avoid the area. More details will be available soon. All right, and that's all we got from that right there. We got, real quick, we got Mr. 13 coming in with the 5 gifted memberships. Let's freaking go, my man. I very much appreciate you. Thank you for not only helping me, but 5 others in the Insane Wheels family, man. I very much appreciate you. Thank you for making it rain. Great to see you in the chat, by the way. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up. We're going to be discussing Trump announces Israel-Lebanon ceasefire to be extended for 3 weeks. This happened yesterday. This happened over there in D.C., actually. So let's go ahead and figure out what's going on. We're not going to play the whole thing either because this is a long segment. Our one long segment today is going to be Pete Hegseth and General Kane over there in the Pentagon. So we're not playing long segments today.
Live right now to the White House. We have President Trump back inside the Oval Office, greeting representatives attending an ambassador-level talks between Israel and Lebanon.
Good morning, Cameron. Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
Let's listen in.
Good morning.
They came together in the Oval Office, and they came together because of energetic diplomacy, of course, led by the President of the United States. So I think it's a big moment for the world. It's a big moment for our country, but just very proud to be a part of it. So thank you, sir, for making it happen.
Thank you very much, Thank you, Mr. President, for hosting this. Actually, you know, the president wanted to be personally involved, and I'm glad he was because he made it possible to get this extension. And it gives everybody time to continue to work on what's going to be a permanent peace between two countries that want to be at peace. Both are victimized by the same terrorist organization. A terrorist organization that no doubt has victimized Israel, but has also victimized the people of Lebanon. The people of Lebanon deserve to live in a country that's peaceful and prosperous. They have an opportunity to do that. They have a history of that. And what's standing in the way is an organization that operates, a terrorist organization that operates within their national territory that threat needs to be eliminated. And so thank you, Mr. President.
Which he's talking about Hezbollah in specific right there.
For this gathering today and for convening it and being a key part of it. And it buys us time to continue to work. I'm very optimistic that in a few weeks we'll be even closer to the kind of permanent peace that the people of Israel and Lebanon deserve.
Thank you very much. Michelle, please.
Well, I would like to thank the President, the Vice President, and Secretary to make this historical meeting today that bring two countries that they've never been next to each other more than today in a way. This is 60, 70 years in the making, and today is really the historical day. Thank you, Mr. President, Vice President, Secretary, and we're going to keep going, working for a peace that hopefully we'll get it as soon as possible.
Thank you. You're a very successful man. And when I asked him if
What's up, Big Dan? Shout out to you. Good morning to
he'd
you.
like to be ambassador to Lebanon, I said, could be a dangerous job. He said, well, I'm Lebanese. I was born in Lebanon, and your parents have a whole big history. He said, danger doesn't matter to me, really. It's something I want to do. He's very successful. He didn't need this. And I think it's probably more dangerous than you even thought, but you've done a fantastic job. So.
It is an honor for me to serve you, Mr. President, and then I'm going to go till the end.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And likewise, Mike Huckabee. We all know Mike. And he didn't need it either, did he? But he's doing a fantastic job. Mike, go ahead, please.
I just want to say, Mr. President, what an amazing opportunity to be here at a moment of history. The people of Lebanon, the people of Israel are neighbors, and they want to get along. They can get along. But it's like neighbors who have a rough little kid living in the neighborhood who keeps throwing rocks at everybody's window. And if the kid...
This freaking analogy, which he's not necessarily wrong, but, you know, just analogies on this kind of shit is...
We'll quit throwing rocks. The neighbors can get along and start actually working together. The president has initiated something that is truly bringing the neighborhood back to a neighborhood and recognizing that the problem is not Lebanon and the problem is not Israel. The problem is Hezbollah, the bad little kid throwing rocks. That's what the president is getting launched today to get that little kid.
Well, that's been basically, since the ceasefire happened in 2024, when that whole thing happened, that's essentially what I was trying to explain to you guys. The ceasefire was actually with the Lebanese government, not with Hezbollah. And so Hezbollah was still attacking those times. And so basically during that ceasefire agreement we saw, which theoretically was broken just recent, and now here's the new ceasefire. But yes, it's kind of the same exact thing. Lebanese government is cool in that kind of respect. They have somewhat of control over Hezbollah, where they have influence. Like the Lebanese government would be like, hey, you guys take it easy. Don't be firing off any more missiles or whatever the case is. And usually it seems like when the Lebanese government interjects themselves with their own terrorist organizations, such as Hezbollah, then Hezbollah actually does stop, it seems. So
out of the neighborhood.
Thank you. Mr. Ambassador, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for your hospitality, for bringing Israel and Lebanon together here in the Oval Office. Israel wants peace with Lebanon, and Israel wants security for its citizens. We're united with the Lebanese government in wanting to rid the country of this malign influence called Hezbollah. Now that, Mr. President, under your leadership, Iran has been so degraded, the possibility of degrading Hezbollah and liberating...
Damn, Cameron. Hopefully, what's the recovery like on that?
Lebanon from their occupation is real. So we hope that together under your leadership, we can formalize peace between Israel and Lebanon in the very near future. And we are just very thankful for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to having the next meeting with your great prime minister he is.
Yeah, no kidding, Virginia Chaos. That's funny.
He's a wartime prime minister with Bibi and with the president of Lebanon. It'll be fantastic. I think lots going to happen. Madam Ambassador.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll hear from her, and then we're done with this.
Thank you so much, President Trump. Thank you for your leadership, for making sure to be presiding over this
Thank you for that, Jack. I very much appreciate that.
historic moment. I want to really say thank you to the United States under your leadership for all your effort to help and to support Lebanon. And I think with your help, with your support, we can make Lebanon great again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I like that phrase.
Yeah, she literally said it, and together we can make Lebanon great again. And Trump looked at her and was like, man, I like that.
Your help, with your support, we can make Lebanon great again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I like that phrase.
I like that phrase. Yeah, of course you do. All right, let's go and move on. Major shift on marijuana. We're bringing our attention back to the United States real quick for this story. Trump reclassifies cannabis as lower risk drug. Now, again, we did actually cover when Trump did the executive order to theoretically give a suggestion to the DOJ to reclassify marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And yesterday, finally, the DOJ actually took that suggestion, essentially, and now has reclassified marijuana under Schedule 3. Now, the big deal behind this is not necessarily the decriminalization of it, but it is as well. But the major thing down the road that is what not everybody's looking at, but the big thing here is the amount of testing that we can do. Now we can, see if we can test a whole bunch of shit on a science level to see if it helps with certain, cancers, all this shit. Now, when it was Schedule 1, we were very limited on what we could test and what we could do. Now that it's Schedule 3, we can do almost everything with it. So this is a major win for Americans, just got to say. Let's go ahead and bring this up, and we'll go ahead and discuss it.
We want to talk about the big news here of the day is President Donald Trump's acting attorney general today signed an order reclassifying.
You sure did, Gary.
State licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug, a major policy shift long sought by advocates who said cannabis should never have been treated like heroin by the federal government. So let's continue to break this down right here on Live Now from Fox. I want to bring in our next guest to help do that. Please.
Exactly, because it's been the private sector that's been doing a lot of that, but now the government, the federal funds will be able to, the federal funds will be able to help those smaller organizations that are doing testing and all that kind of shit.
Please welcome everyone. Michael Johnson, the CEO of Metric Cannabis Compliance on reclassification. Thanks so much for being here and just tell.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Felony Friday, not Fuck It Friday. Well, I mean, we can have a Fuck It Felony Friday, Anyways, back to this.
Tell us a little bit about what this day means for so many, as well as what it could potentially mean down the road as well.
Yeah, it's a great day. Long overdue. Certainly been something that has been a long.
It would have been really cool if they would have done this 4 days ago. They were 3 days off theoretically, right? It would have been cool if they would have done this whole thing on 420. That would have been awesome.
Long time coming. It is the most significant stepping stone that we have seen in over 50 years. This gives a tremendous opportunity for more R&D opportunities, more research, definitely more access to patients, and more accessible and affordable cannabis.
Yeah, so
I don't need no government grown fucking cannabis though. All right.
True. And I mean, this was, a process that took years and years. Just explain just how long of a process this has been to try to get to this level.
It's been a long time. And so over the last 15 years, since states began legalizing or creating mechanisms for legalized cannabis in earnest, we have seen
in some ways, some are medical only, some are CBD only, some are recreational. So yes,
movement at the federal level.
In the last 20 years, actually, really in the last 15 years, it's just, the United States has exploded on the whole cannabis idea. And actually, the study just came out in 2025 that 2025 was the very first year where cannabis use in the United States surpassed alcohol use, which I thought was totally amazing.
Lockstep with the pushes at the state level. And by no means does the federal rescheduling change what the states are going to be doing.
Be safe out there, TVT. Always appreciate you.
But it gives a lot more flexibility in terms of operators' access to normal banking institutions, more affordable things like insurance, and most notably eases what's called the 280E burden. The 280E burden, in the most simplistic terms, is if you run a dispensary and you buy cannabis wholesale for $1,000 and you sell it for $1,200, you have a $200 profit. In most industries.
Oh, Gary, big time. Not only have they been fighting legal weed, they've been fighting legal hemp. They've been fighting legal, I mean, everything. So stuff that doesn't have any THC or THCA or Delta or any of that shit. Just normal cannabis for like I forget what the exact thing is called, but nonetheless, why am I blanking on? It's not the THC compound. It's the other compound where it doesn't get you high.
The tax on that $200. 280E precluded the ability for these cannabis operators to use that $1,000 that
What's
they
up, Papa
paid for
Penguin?
the cannabis
Good morning.
into their dispensary to use that as a deduction. So they're paying tax on $1,200. $200 for most businesses, $1,200 for cannabis businesses. Now this goes away.
Yeah, that's so true. And I also want to continue to talk about the financial aspects, especially when it comes for the retailers. I mean, what was it like before this was signed? How were they able
Thank you, CBD. I don't know why I was blanking on that for some reason. I was thinking CB something. Like I couldn't think of the last letter. Anyways, thanks for that.
Well, medical retailers and really any medical participant, as well as adult use participants, fairly limited. There's a few banks that have been more outsized in terms of their participation, but there really have been 800 banks that have banked cannabis and continue to bank cannabis. You're just not going to see, and you have not historically seen more of your bigger names like a Bank of America or a Wells Fargo. There's deemed to be a bit of risk in this space, certainly because of the illegal nature, but also because of a lot of the elements associated with the supply chain. We serve 29 of the 40 legal states where cannabis is legal in the United States. Metric provides these tracking.
You supply them with what?
Trace solutions so that you have visibility in every step of the supply chain.
Okay, so you're just showing, you're showing information essentially, just tying the dots.
Ensure that the cannabis is properly tested and safe to consume. We protect public health by being the backbone of the industry and being able to provide the data points and
so the transparency of the data,
visibility that has enabled access to some of these banking, insurance, and other institutions that a typical industry would have access to.
What do you say to the critics that say, all right, there's not enough safeguards still with medical marijuana, that it doesn't go through the FDA? There's none of that process. Tell me what your response to that is.
What's up, brother GEG? Good morning.
Well, we're not in all 40 states yet. So my response to that would be, if you're following a very robust and rigorous track and trace regime, you're able to ensure the handoff of product everywhere in the supply chain, truly from seed to sale. That product is tested sometimes multiple times along the supply chain. And at times, just like any other industry, things will pass testing and later on they
What's up, No Grow? Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Good morning.
Where you have a situation where we saw another recall today from a food perspective in the cannabis space.
And by the way, I mean, you know that I grew up in Southern California and moved here when I was 30, so I got to live the fully recreational life with it, right? And then where I moved to here, it was very, very, very limited. So
I can tell you individually every single item where it is at any point in time if it's not been sold, and I can tell you what items that may be selected for recall have been sold at any point in time. There is no better visibility.
You say, Frank, always appreciate you.
Across the entire supply chain than what we're able to afford via track and trace.
And Michael, how much, while you were speaking on that, I was wondering how much of an impact is AI for you right now in this really tracking?
Yeah, well, at Metric, we are very...
Yeah, San Pedro. Now, believe it or not, where the best sessions were in Southern California, like sessions, were San Bernardino, you know what I mean? Man, there was a lot of great spots out there. But yes, San Bernardino was like the number one.
In terms of the different mechanisms in place to try to provide the best outcomes for public health perspective and a supply chain integrity. AI, like every other industry, is going to transform the space. It's going to give us accessibility to data and able to act on that data in ways that we haven't before. What that means is that Metric, leveraging AI, provides even more safe and secure supply chains.
All right, there we go. We appreciate it as always, Michael. Great for the...
Now, let's go ahead and see if there's any other posts. Oh, there's an actual report on this. Let's go ahead and see what the report is showing.
3 for medical marijuana. Let's listen in.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has signed an order reclassifying state-licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. This is a major policy shift that has been long sought by advocates who say cannabis should have never been treated like a more intense drug by the federal government. So joining me today to break down this latest order is Kevin Sabet, who is the CEO of the Foundation for Drug Policy Solutions. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So this is being framed as a historic step, moving marijuana out of the same category as heroin. So from your perspective, is this a correction or an overcorrection?
It's really an overcorrection. It does very little for research, but what it will do is give tax breaks to the industry. And
what? It gives very little to research. What do you mean? We just took down the entire borders of why we could not research it properly. What are you talking about?
And, you know, please people like Joe Rogan, who I understand has an electorate base important to the president, but that's not how drug policy should be made. So it's really a very bad move.
This fucking guy.
Why are you gay?
Okay, so we found out what kind of guy this is instantaneously just off of his opinions, all right? This is going to be a far-right dude, okay? Now, I'm a far-right dude. Everyone knows that. But I believe in personal freedoms. Listen, man, I hate when people bring they for political gains, they take away actual freedoms from Americans. To me, that's not America only or America first. That's you first, bitch. So unfortunately, we have a lot of, most politicians are self-serving. We know this. And this is exactly why JR and myself have gotten ourselves involved in this, is because we truly actually don't even, we're not running to get reelected. We're going in there to fucking change shit, make it happen. And if the people here like it, then of course, sure, we'll stay. You know what I mean? But we're not running to get reelected. We're not running to make money. We already make money. He's a plant manager. I run my own business here. We're not doing this for influence. I already got influence. Got plenty of influence here. You know what I mean? Don't need it for that reason either. Legitimately, it's just the betterment of our people, of our district. That's it.
It's sending a horrible message about today's weed, which is so much stronger than it was in the past. The way
wow, Sterling Will coming in real quick with the 5 gifted memberships. Let's freaking go, my man. Thank you very much for the 5 gifted memberships. It definitely goes a long way, my man. So thank you for that. And you're not only helping me, but 5 others in the chat, man. And by the way, you guys, we got members only tomorrow morning. Make sure you guys, if you got a gifted membership, make sure that you guys show up tomorrow morning for members only, man. We don't talk about any of this shit. We actually have a good time. So
manipulated with the high levels of THC.
And you mentioned this
manipulated. It's grown. What manipulated? Okay, well, whatever.
Change could mean these tax breaks and fewer barriers for cannabis businesses. Do you see that as economic common sense, or is this just something that poses more risks?
It poses more risk. It's no more common sense than we would get.
This guy is such a fed, dude. What a this guy is speaking like the normal, common bullshit fed. That's what this guy is right here. Just letting you know. But let's hear him out.
Tax breaks to big tobacco or big pharma. Who are selling deadly or dangerous substances. So first of all, none of these products have gone through the FDA. So you do not know what you're getting. I don't care if the president made this Schedule 5. You still don't know what you're getting. These are not FDA-approved medication products. So this is going to be the first time we have a drug without FDA approval in Schedule 3. It makes absolutely no sense at all. It's going to allow gummies, candies, 99% vapes. This is a giveaway to the pot industry and to the president's donors. I hate to say it.
So we know that this order doesn't legalize marijuana for medical or recreational use under federal law, but it does change how it's regulated. 40 states, of course, already allow medical marijuana in that same form. So how does this impact states and consumers?
Well, it will remain to be seen. This is
no. Let me just go ahead and tell you, it's going to impact the consumer in a very positive way. It's going to impact the growers. Not necessarily in the best way. Some may benefit because of federal funding and stuff like that. But this creates a whole different level of competition, right? So the smaller competition that's out there, the smaller farms and stuff like that, unfortunately will not be able to keep up with the bigger plants that the government essentially puts money into, whatever the case is. So you're going to see a lot of small businesses, small family farms and stuff like that, unfortunately go under. So that's the two things that you're going to see. On the consumer side, it's really, really actually pretty good for the consumer. For the growers, it's not the best, but it will work out in some So that's the actual answer to what her question was. And then this guy's giving a biased ass answer. So anyways, let's go ahead and go back to this.
Help us be more productive people. So we're going to have many more products on the shelf that are kid friendly. We're going to have more advertising because of the tax breaks. These are the things I'm concerned
about. Provo, you're 100% right. Exactly. It just depends if it goes on their narrative. Now, this guy probably is funded. This fucking guy that's this biased motherfucker, guaranteed probably funded by some sort of big alcohol somewhere on his timeline. I'm sure this motherfucker has promises made and he needs to make promises kept, right? So he's definitely going to go against the narrative of this kind of shit, right? So I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just stating that if you follow the money, I'm pretty sure that this guy probably is incentivized to go against this whole thing.
And the administration is saying that this is going to expand research. It's going to help doctors make even better decisions. How does having easier access to state-licensed medical marijuana actually help researchers?
Well, it doesn't because, listen, if a doctor wanted you to get it, they would just say, you can go get it. You already could get it beforehand. What would help research?
What's up, Chrono? Good morning to you. By the way, great to see you in the chat. Hopefully you're enjoying your Fuck It Felony Friday. Great to see you.
It's funding. But nothing in this order is about funding. By the way, there are tens of thousands of research studies done on marijuana, the vast majority showing the harm. So
this guy is such cap, bro. It's not necessarily about like, hey, they couldn't necessarily research it at all. No, it's the access to federal funding to allow this. That's the whole difference. What's going to end up happening is we're going to get a whole bunch of research scientists going researching the shit out of this stuff. And I guarantee you there's going to be a billion more positive shit that comes out of it than negative, okay? Anyways.
No one is against research. We want research to happen.
Yeah. Sounds like you are against research, just the way that you belittled it. And also lied, Anyways, fuck this guy. This guy is on some bullshit. We're moving on. Iran war, third U.S. aircraft carrier arrives in the Middle East. That's one of our things in the title today. Third carrier arrives. So let's go ahead and bring that up and we'll quickly discuss it. Also, for politicians, for Israel, United States, for Iran, for Lebanon, for Yemen, for Iraq, for all of them, embrace your fuck up.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
Shit. Brother Steve Easy says, in my home state, you need $1 million or $1 million down for a permit. And yeah, that's basically the same shit over there in California. Biker News Canada, my man, appreciate you saying morning, Mike, and all my friends in the chat. Even if you don't like me, man, we all like you. Stop the cap. Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
Stop the cap.
We got Big Lock Joker as well. Great to see you as well. It's been a minute. Hopefully you're enjoying your Fuck It Felony Friday. I definitely know that we are. And yes, Naomi says embrace. You got to embrace. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and get into this.
All right, welcome back in Live Now. I'm Austin Westfall, a live depiction of...
We're about to get into OT, and we're like halfway through. Holy shit. Okay, so today may be close to a 2-hour thing. Hopefully not. We've got a couple stories we may be able to skip here, but yeah.
The marine traffic in the Strait of
OT is
Hormuz.
coming in.
This is brought to us via marine traffic. A lot going on in this region of the world tonight. Trump has ordered the U.S. military to shoot and kill Iran.
And antibiotics are the worst, especially if you're drinking on them, bro. Listen, last time I drank on antibiotics, I got sick as fuck. I really did.
Small boats.
I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore.
To choke traffic through the strait. Also, earlier in the day, the U.S. military said that it seized another tanker that was associated with smuggling Iranian oil. Meanwhile, a third U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, arrived in the Middle East earlier today. The U.S. military posting this.
Shit, it's time for that big-ass chicken sandwich. Well, what about an egg salad sandwich?
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big-ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
Facts. All right, back to this.
Earlier on social
Central
media.
Command.
Let's bring in retired Marine Intelligence Officer.
We got Central Command coming out posting on X. Nimitz-class aircraft carrier USS George H.W. Bush sails into the Indian Ocean in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility April 23rd, which was yesterday.
National security analyst and the host of the Strat podcast, Hal Kempfer. He's here with me. Hal, what does the arrival of a third aircraft carrier tell you about how Washington is assessing risk in the region right now?
Well, Austin, what they're telling me is they think there's a really high probability we're doing airstrikes again. That's why you have 3 aircraft carriers there. The other thing is, by keeping the aircraft carriers at sea, it lowers...
Oh, man, listen, you know, I've often said this since I've been sick, since I've lost my leg. I tell people, listen, I'll take losing a leg better than me getting sick. I become a total fucking baby. I'm a wimp. I'm not moving. I'm going to be laying down. I'm going to be taking my meds, and I'm going to be sleeping, listening to podcasts or whatever the case is. And I don't want to talk to the world. I'm just like a total baby. Yeah.
The propensity, I don't know, or maybe likelihood that Iran will do counterstrikes against U.S. bases in these in these various Gulf states. I don't know if that's true, but it's pretty much impossible for the Iranians to hit those carriers. So it's a safe platform, but it also brings a tremendous amount of airborne firepower, especially in the south. And I think that's an area that we want to focus on. Southern Iran, obviously the Strait of Hormuz, a lot of targets to prosecute, particularly if we're going to follow through on that thing of going after all those boats. The Revolutionary Guard Corps has a lot of small boats in the Strait of Hormuz. That's a lot of targets to prosecute.
Virginia Chaos, weird little fun fact about Mike Ball. I had this weird fear as a kid. I don't know what the deal was, but like, I mean, I still hate throwing up, but I legitimately feared it. Like, I used to fear it so much so that I would psych myself up and get myself puking, which was terrible. Now, obviously, that shit is no longer a thing for me. I mean, I fucking still hate it just as much, but I don't fear it anymore. But yeah, I don't know what the deal was when I was a kid.
So, talking about the mine clearing efforts, if you will, does the United States clearing the Strait of Hormuz of mines and the operations that come along.
Right. Who loves it? Exactly, Naomi. I hear you.
With doing that, Hal, does that raise the chances of some sort of direct military clash, whether it be inadvertent or otherwise?
I think to some degree, yes.
Oh, that's gross, 5150.
For example, the postulation would be, would the Revolutionary Guard Corps attack minesweepers? I think they might. They've certainly attacked other ships. They might try that.
Well, Iran, what the question is there, when our minesweepers are going through the strait, is our shit at jeopardy? Well, yes, of course it is. Of course. These motherfuckers are willing to shoot at random cargo ships that aren't even U.S. or Israeli flagged. None of that shit. They're willing to do all that shit. They're willing to hit their Gulf neighbors. What makes you think they're not willing to fucking strike a minesweeper that's right there in their backyard?
I think they would learn that is a very bad idea very quickly, but I could see them doing that. The thing that they don't have large naval combatants. We pretty much wiped those out, but they do have these small gunboats, these fast boats that run around the strait, and they've got a lot of them. And so that's the sort of tactics they use. The other thing they use is swarm tactics, where they will swarm on a particular naval target and basically overwhelm its defenses. Again, I think that wouldn't work out too well if they did that with one of our minesweeping operations or one of our allies' minesweeping operations, but I don't put it beyond them to try it.
You know, so there's the U.S. That's kind of looking at mine clearing operations, but what about the president speaking about target?
Now, also, when they were talking about the mine sweeping operations, Trump had answered it like, yes, we're in there doing it. And we will, he said, hopefully other countries also get involved. But if not, we've got it handled. You know, so anyways.
Boats that are laying,
and that was yesterday.
The mines. How likely is something like that to turn into an escalation?
Well, that got interesting. There was a report today that there was some thinking that the Iranians might be inclined to start doing what are called floating mines, basically surface mines that they float out in the water. The problem with that is once they let them out there, those things are basically, you know, they'll float anywhere. They'll float into our sea lanes, their sea lanes. They're just adrift. And this is something that the Iranians did back in the 80s. Makes mine clearing very.
Just to clarify real quick. Yes, all patches are earned in motorcycle club. Well, they should be all earned. I'm just speaking in general, right? Just because everyone in the chat is kind of talking about it. But it is common for even big clubs, 1% clubs, doesn't matter, that yes, you earned your patch, but you earned the right to wear them, but you don't get them for free necessarily. Like even my patches, I mean, I prospected, did the whole thing, and then once I got through, I mean, I had to pay for those patches. I think it was like $300 for the patches or something like that. But yeah, I don't know what specifically you're talking about. I'm sure there are clubs that do only charge and they don't actually have you prospect. I'm sure that happens too. I'm sure that there's clubs that you could also prospect for and get patches 100% free for. I don't know. I can only speak from my experience, right?
Difficult because there's no set place for the mines. The mines are just floating around out there, which means that the Iranians, you know, they would.
What's up, brother Pitbull? My man over there in the UK. Shout out to my man. He says, remember to rev that like button and drop the share to wheel spin the show out of here. Sorry, I've been so busy this week. Miss you all. Hope you all had a great week so far, man. I very much appreciate you. We've all had a fairly decent week, my man.
There'd be a trade-off. They could not say the strait was open because they had effectively mined their own lanes to for ships that come through the straits. On the other hand, that would be something that is easily done with those small boats I was talking about. So I think that's one of the reasons the Iranians may be looking at that, is that they want to use those small boats to basically drag those lines out, floating mines, and then just let them go. That puts a real onus on us to find those small boats quickly and to eliminate those targets before they have a chance to release mines. And I think that's going to be
right. And that's where people's contention is. It's not just the buying of it. It's the act of you not having to prospect to buy them. That's essentially what the deal is. If you're just willing to, hey, I'm a willing participant, here's my money, give me my patches, that's a different ordeal. And I think that's what Big Lock Joker's getting at. But for like people like me, it was like, hey, you don't even have the opportunity to buy these until you prospect correctly, until we decide that you can,
you're going to see a lot of things. I think you're going to see more, A-10 Warthogs. You're going to see more drones. You're going to see, obviously, some attack helicopters and a variety of other aircraft employed extensively to go after those small boats.
Let's talk about the wider ramifications of such a large-scale fight like this. 3 aircraft carriers in the region. You and I have talked at length in recent weeks about the amount of manpower that's out in the area. Look at this. The Wall Street Journal says that the U.S. has burned through so many munitions in Iran that some administration officials are increasingly assessing that America could not fully execute contingency plans to defend Taiwan from China. The Journal says that replacing the stockpiles could take up to 6 years. So Hal, if China were to attack Taiwan right now, can the U.S. defend them?
The U.S. can defend them to an extent. They can't fire missiles that don't exist, and we have burned through a lot of that. There were reports at the beginning of the war that you may recall that there was Pentagon officials that were warning the president, even before anything was done, that if we do this, we're going to get dangerously low and critical stockpiles of weapons like Tomahawk missiles, Patriot, anti-missile.
Yeah, Steve Easy, without calling out names and stuff like that, it will be interesting to see how it weathers through summer. And I know exactly what you're talking about.
Air defense missiles, a variety of other high value but low density in terms of how many we have items. The other thing is we haven't been procuring these at a prodigious rate that would allow us to quickly refill our stocks. You're seeing a full court press right now to try and increase the amount of production of a lot of ammunition, not just missiles, but all munitions across the board. But it's taking time, and so that's not a wild estimate to say it would take 6 years. It would certainly take 6 years at the previous rate of production. I don't know if we can ramp up our production fast enough.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see if there's a post here. There's something from Jonathan Chang here. Says the U.S. has burned through so many munitions in Iran that some administration officials increasingly assess that America couldn't fully execute contingency plans to defend Taiwan if a Chinese invasion occurred in the near term, U.S. officials said. Wow, that's actually a pretty big deal, actually. We have used so many munitions that theoretically, if Taiwan were to be invaded or any of that taken over, it would be very hard for us to keep up with that.
But I would basically take my joint planning group or my operational plan.
All right, we're going to move on, though. like I said, we got a lot to get through. All right. So Israel-Lebanon ceasefire extended by 3 weeks. Trump says, as you guys know, we saw that whole thing. Let's see if there's any other information. The only reason why we're playing this kind of like a second time is because there's 2 different reports. So I want to see if they happen to bring on like, okay, they showed this, which we already showed, them doing that whole conference. And then it looks like they just brought on somebody. Oh, wait, we've got an ambassador here that's making a post. Michael Litter, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Anyways, a second productive round of talks with Lebanon's ambassador, Nada, today hosted by President Trump with Vance, Mike Huckabee, Marco Rubio, and Ambassador Mikel Isia. I think that's how I don't know. Anyways, our goals remain, or if it may be Michelle, I don't know. Our goals remain clear: peace, prosperity, and security for our citizens from Iran and its terror proxies. All right, let's go and see if there's any other posts on this. If not, we don't need to sit here and listen to that guy ramble on for 30 minutes. No need to do that. All right, U.S. soldier charged with betting on Maduro mission on Polymarket. Now, again, remember, we actually reported on this whole thing when Trump got asked the question about Polymarket and this guy making a bet right before Maduro got taken, because there was a bet and showing the odds, the predictions in Polymarket. That's what Polymarket does, shows odds and predictions. So anyways, he ends up betting a certain amount of money, and then the very next day, or maybe 2 days later, I think it was the very next day, Maduro got captured. And so it was kind of like a social media thing, like what people were talking about it, but governmental officials weren't talking about it. So yesterday in the White House, or the day before, I think it was yesterday, but nonetheless, my days get crossed. You got asked the question, about Polymarket, and got asked the question about that guy making a bet. Had you heard about that? And Trump's like, no, don't know much information on that. Who was he betting for? Was he, and so the guy clarified, said he was betting that he would be taken out of office. He goes, wow, that sounds like a guy betting on his own motherfucking team. He goes, all right, let me go ahead and investigate that. And then turn to the next question. So within like 8 hours from him getting asked that question in the White House, 8 hours later, this report comes out. So let me go ahead and bring this up, and we'll go ahead and quickly discuss it.
One more story we wanted to get to, and this is a fascinating one. The DOJ saying that a U.S. Special Forces soldier involved in the military operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has been charged with using classified information about the mission to win more than $400,000 in an online betting market. Ken Van Dyke was part of the operation to capture Maduro in January, and he used his access to classified information to make money on the prediction market site Polymarket. That's according to the federal prosecutor's office in New York. They said that earlier today.
Oh, shit. Real quick, we got a Cash App that came in, and I'm super sorry for, I literally saw this, and I thought it was your original donation. So I'm super sorry about that, Brother VC. Virginia Chaos coming in with the 420, by the way, right at 11 o'clock, saying, overtime smokeout. Yes, sir. Well, let's get to it. Let's get our counterclockwise tobacco. All right, we're lit up. We're ready to go. Thank you for that, VC, for the 420.
He's a former federal prosecutor. Nemo, a lot to unpack with this one. Prosecutors are calling this insider trading with national security information.
Which it is. That's exactly what that is. And it was a U.S. soldier at that did it. So, of course, he's got the insider a little bit more than someone like me or you. But yes, anyways, got a question for this guy that's about to speak.
Why are you gay?
Just asking the question.
How are they framing these charges?
Austin, thanks for having me, and really a first, but probably won't be the last. And now that you can really kind of bet on anything, and even though this isn't your traditional wager, it's a prediction market, we are going to see this type of insider trading, really no different than trading on an inside tip on the stock market or a boxing match or other sporting event. It is fraudulent because it is defrauding someone on the other side. Now, it's not your typical security, so it's not necessarily insider trading under securities law.
Yes, everybody hit the like button. Let's get the likes up. I know it's a lot of craziness happening around the world, but make sure you guys hit the like button. You guys don't have to like it for that reason. You guys can like it for me and what we're doing here. So double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. Appreciate you guys. Also, we got Dragon Classy. Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Good morning to you. Great to see you as
But
always.
it is a commodity, and that's why it's still considered fraud. And in this particular case, wire fraud under federal law. And of course, this is someone that has classified information. And we all remember the Espionage Act. That was what was used to charge Donald Trump and other folks recently down there in South Florida. So people may be familiar with the law on that basis. And when it comes to the Espionage Act, you don't necessarily...
Damn, Brother Chrono coming out with the 5 gifted memberships, my man. Thank you so much. So listen, there's been a lot of gifted memberships going on lately. If you guys received any gifted memberships, make sure you guys show up Saturday morning, man. Oh my God, he just gifted another 5. Holy shit. A lot of gifted memberships, yo. So if you guys are receiving any gifted memberships, we've got members only tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys show up. We're not discussing any of this shit. We're going to have a good time. That's what we always do on members only. Thank you for that, Chrono, man. That definitely goes a long way,
have to
man.
sell the secrets or even give them to someone else under the law. As long as you use confidential information for a personal reason, that can be considered a violation of the law.
So I was reading what the DOJ put out. They say, and the government says that Van Dyke made more than 400,000.
Oh, epic, dude. Chrono. So I see what you did. You put 5 over on the horizontal side. You put 5 over on the vertical side. I like that. That's awesome. Nice touch.
In profit here. What do we know about how investigators might have been able to trace that money? Do we have any indicators?
We do. And the good thing about AI and algorithms, they flag these suspicious transactions. So again, stock market, probably the best example, right? Someone buys a stock or a lot of stock shortly before it spikes in value. Well, that's going to raise red flags. Investigators at the SEC and DOJ are going to look into that transaction, particularly if it's someone who hasn't made that type of trade before. Similarly, right? And a lot of people on social media.
Well, that's also something that, of course, the feds are going to look into. What he just said there. Does this guy gamble on a normal basis? You know what I mean? Like, does he normally place bets? Is this his very first time making a bet? They're going to show the history, of course. Now, it'd be awesome to know that information, but we may or may not ever get that information. So
yeah, we're pointing to this. How does someone make this type of prediction shortly before it happens? Obviously, we know that the president was talking about potentially using military force in Venezuela. But if someone makes that type of wager shortly before the U.S. goes into Venezuela and captures Maduro and bets a large amount, that is going to raise red flags. Authorities at the FBI, they're going to look at that transaction to see if it was based on non-public classified information in Austin. That's exactly what happened.
Well, listen, man, it was a U.S. soldier that got caught doing this. It's pretty evident. It's like a governmental official getting caught doing this. It's like, well, no shit. Of course they had insider information. No shit. That's of course why this happened. But what he's getting at is the way that you would prove it in the court of law. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on. We've got 2 stories still to get through, so I'm super sorry about this. We're going into OT heavy today. Iran, quote, must stop funding Hezbollah to reach deal, Trump says. Now, this came out just a couple of hours ago this morning. Let's go ahead and bring it up. I'm sorry. Actually, I apologize. The Hegseth one is from a couple hours ago. This is from last night. Sorry.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. My name is Alexandra Goldberg. Earlier today, take a look here. The Washington Post posting on social media breaking news. The 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon due to expire Sunday will be extended for 3 weeks. President Trump said during the second round of peace talks at the White House. Now take a look here. This is a live look here in Tel Aviv, Israel. Beirut, another live look here as we continue our coverage. Again, today in the Oval Office, ambassadors from Israel and Lebanon meeting for a high-stakes negotiation. President Donald Trump announcing Israel and
which we already announced, by the way.
Lebanon agreed to extend their ceasefire
for 3 weeks.
And joining me now to talk about this is Professor Benjamin Rod.
Okay, cool. But I was hoping they were going to show what Trump was saying, not just a reaction from a political analyst or political scientist, because truthfully, I really don't need to hear much of what this motherfucker got to say. And then they just showed the post later on the video, almost towards the end, that the 3rd aircraft carrier has now reached the Indian Ocean in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility. So let's just go ahead and hear what he's got to say on the opening, and we'll move on from it.
UCLA political scientist. Hey, good evening to you.
Alexandra, good evening.
Man.
Why are you gay?
Just asking.
So this ceasefire was set to expire after the weekend, now extended for another 3 weeks. What mechanism?
I would certainly hope not, Big Lock Joker. I would definitely hope that that is not the case. But also, clubs got to do a better job of purging cancers and keeping good people. That's what I would say. It's also just like you said, a member problem and all that shit too. But of course, it's also a club problem. The clubs also need to act according.
Does the Lebanese government use to ensure that Hezbollah complies with this extension?
Given that Hezbollah is the dominant military force in Lebanon.
Virginia Chaos, dude, the way that her eyes are all like, dude, she looks like she might have actually done a little duster, dude.
There really is not a whole lot that the Lebanese National Army can do to ensure Hezbollah's compliance. We've already seen several incidents of, I guess you can call them violations of the ceasefire in the last few days, with shots exchanged between Hezbollah forces and Israel.
Yeah, that's right, Cameron. This is Timu Mark Cuban. I forgot about that.
In the northern part of the country there. And there's really not much that Lebanon can do or has been able to do historically to rein in Hezbollah. That much is up to the Iranian regime, which ultimately controls what Hezbollah does and does not do.
He does have a little bit. It kind of looks like he's got a little bit of mascara just on his right eye, by the way. It looks like he's got like eyelashes on his right eye or a little bit of mascara drawn on. And then this one doesn't have any. So it's like he's like half and half. And those lips, man, I mean, that is a very feminine. I don't want to point out things that people can't help, but I think he can help the way that he puckers his lips up. Like, I don't know, man. Just saying.
I go into my next question here. In that first
What's up, Joseph?
part, the 10-day
up there in Canada, we always appreciate our favorite snow Mexican. Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Good morning.
ceasefire, did the two countries adhere to the deal, or were?
Yes, actually, we did embrace our fuck ups with Israel, Iran, United States, Pakistan, Iraq, Yemen. There was a few others that I threw in there, and I said we all need to embrace our fuck ups.
They firing?
Well, each side claims the other one instigated or initiated or did something that violated the terms. Regardless, they're able to keep it contained and confined to a few exchange of rounds and nothing that led to greater escalation. Certainly nothing that led to Israel.
The twin sisterhood. Yes, that's awesome. Man, I hope one day I could be president.
As hacking or firing into southern Beirut, as we had seen in the days and weeks leading up to the ceasefire.
Now, my next question here, I want to focus on what negotiators are talking about. How are negotiators defining what an Israeli right to self-defense would be versus a ceasefire violation, as we have been talking about?
That is very true, by the way, Steve Easy. The best chefs on the planet are males. You are correct on that.
Yeah, there's understandings from previous battles, previous conflicts that have taken place that Hezbollah is not to extend beyond certain geographic markers or borders in the past, and it remains to some extent, for example, the Litani River, which is a natural boundary, and areas that are technically under the control of the United Nations interim forces in Lebanon, UNIFIL. And Hezbollah, under international agreements, is not to enter into those areas. And what Israel claims is that Hezbollah fighters have done, in fact, just that.
Well, and Hezbollah has been known to do exactly what he just stated, going into an area that they claim that, hey, we've agreed you're not going to go here, and then they go there. But so has the IDF. I can promise you that, absolutely. Real quick, let's see these images. I haven't seen these images yet.
To a lesser extent, we see Iran funding Hamas, the Houthis in Yemen, who are...
Yes, and Iran is still funding the Axis of Resistance. Now, the little bit left of the Axis of Resistance, they are still funding. And that's exactly what this is about Hezbollah needs to basically stop getting funded from Iran for there to be any type of deal, any type of peace.
Also an offshoot of Shiites and other militias in Iraq. Now, it's not to say that Iran's funding is nominal or marginal for these groups. It is very substantial, especially for the Houthis and for a large part Hamas, but not like it is for Hezbollah, which is very much a sort of Iranian operation.
All right, Professor, I do want to look at the bigger picture here. Of course, two deals being brokered at the same time, Israel-Lebanon, the U.S. and Iran. If one of these deals collapses, does
Yeah,
that...
it's all, dude, this, okay, come on. To answer your question, Alexandra, yes, this entire globe is essentially a big house of cards, especially with the whole Iran situation, okay? This whole thing is a house of cards, not only for the United States, but for the fucking world, okay? So that's why, I mean, it's fascinating. That's why we, of course, do what we do here. Anyways, we know the answers to what she was asking. We don't need to hear homeboy. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the main attraction for this morning, all right? So this morning, Pete Hegseth and General Kane, they did their Pentagon briefing. So we're going to go ahead and tune that in right now. Real quick for everybody, yes, we absolutely do need to embrace our fuck ups.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
Embrace. We're completely embraced now. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Operation Epic Fury has been laser focused from the very start.
Now, this is, of course, a lengthy thing, so we're going to go ahead and 1.25 times playback speed on this, okay?
Said to all of you, clear mission objectives, and ultimately Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. It's a bold and dangerous...
You know what's kind of interesting about that? Real quick, I just have to interrupt. I know that is the big thing, the big excuse for us to go to Iran for, they're not allowed to have nuclear weapons, blah, blah, blah. That is true. Yes, I think that is somewhat true. But the real reason isn't just that. It's because of their ballistic missile program. That's really what I have found out is truly the reason why we're doing this is because of their ballistic missile program. One of their big demands, the United States demands, was that the ballistic missile program be brought down to like 30. I can't remember how far. It's like 3. I'm just going to make up a random number, but like 50 kilometers radius or some bullshit. I forget. It's more than that, but you know what I'm saying. Anyways, they wanted to reduce it anyways, and that's because it's a threat to Israel. Truly, that's just what it is. They do have the #1 ballistic missile program in the entire world. It's unmatched, actually. Now, we beat them on a military front, of course, but on a missile front, these guys are fucking A1 with their missiles, okay? That's why they have a dog shit fucking Air Force. That's why they have a dog shit fucking Navy. Because essentially, their real military is their ballistic missile program and hypersonics and all that shit. Truthfully, it stands in for the Air Force. It stands in for the Navy. It stands in for a whole bunch of shit. Truthfully, that's why we're really doing this, is because of the threat to Israel. Now, of course, do we want them to have nukes too? Of course not. Now, that's where this whole thing with the where we got ourselves into a deal with Obama, and then we got ourselves out of it with Trump in 2018. It's kind of messed a whole bunch of shit up. And so, anyways, people were like, "Oh, well, Iran's enriching, uranium now." And yes, they did, but they stopped at 60%. That's why you guys kept hearing the 60% ordeal, is because they kept enriching after that deal that we left the table from. If we left the table, they're going, well, now we can do whatever the fuck we want. So instead of going all the way up to 90%, which is weapons grade, they went to 60%, and so that they can negotiate. Okay, 60% was the magic number to negotiate a deal. Truthfully, that's why they stopped at 60. That's a great bargaining chip for them to be, because Iran knows they're being targeted because of a nuclear power that Iran is possibly creating. But they also know the same thing that will keep United States and Israel off their back is nuclear power. So they have enriched to 60% and stopped there. And now they use that as a bargaining chip. They use that to be able to get themselves a good deal and all the sanctions lifted and all that shit. Anyways, just had to get that off my chest right there. Real quick, we got chatting with Stacks. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat. Happy fuck it felony Friday. Great to see you in the chat, man. Here we go.
Mission, a gift to the world, historic, courtesy of a bold and historic.
What's up, Fidel? Good morning to you.
That mission continues today in this new phase as Iran has an important choice, a chance to make a deal, a good deal, a wise deal. As part of that effort, the United States has imposed an ironclad blockade that grows more powerful by the day. From the Gulf of Oman to the open oceans, our Navy is enforcing this blockade without hesitation or apology. Now, as usual, there's a lot of false information out there. I'll say this, every ship that the U.S. believes meets our criteria, either Iranian ships or to and from Iranian ports, has been turned around. As of this morning, 34 total. Non-Iranian vessels are allowed to transit, and many have, including overnight. Not only is the blockade growing, in fact, a second aircraft carrier will join the blockade in just a few days, but this growing blockade is also gone global. Just this week, we seized 2 Iranian dark fleet ships in the Indo-Pacific region that had left Iranian ports before the blockade went into effect. They thought they'd made it out just in time.
But they got spun right around saying, nope, go right back where you came from.
They did not. We seized their sanctioned ships, and we will seize more.
So the number was 2, but then they were talking about a third. They were talking about a third or something like that. I may be wrong, but I do definitely know with certainty we have boarded 2 Iranian ships. We have done that so far. We have spun around countless. I mean, I think it's like something like 20, 25 or whatever.
Our blockade is growing.
Not countless, but you know what I mean. A lot.
America's military is unmatched, projecting power, denying passage to adversaries, and protecting our interest at the time and place of our choosing. No one sails from the Strait of Hormuz to anywhere in the world without the permission of the United States Navy. To the regime in Tehran, the blockade is tightening by the hour. We are in control, nothing in, nothing out. Iran's battered military, the IRGC specifically, has been reduced to a gang of pirates with a flag. They cloak their aggression in slogans, but the world now sees them for what they are, criminals on the high seas. They don't control anything. They're acting like pirates, acting like terrorists. They're the ones who lay indiscriminate mines, who shoot at random ships, who killed 45,000 of their own people, innocent protesters in the course of weeks. Their own people. They are the bad actors. The vessels that the Iranians seized in recent days, a couple of them, they're not American ships. They're not Israeli ships. They're just random ships that drove where they drove their little speedboats up to and shot at those ships with AK-47s. Anyone with a speedboat, a gun, and the wrong intentions can do that. They know that we, the United States of America, control the flow of global shipping, and we know that they know. Their real navy is at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf. It's worth saying again, for 47 years, Iran has been at war with America, killing our citizens, our soldiers, and our allies, while previous administrations looked the other way. The real endless war is the war that Iran has waged on us for 47 years. President Trump is the only president with the guts and moral clarity to finally do something about it. I see it every day behind closed doors. President Trump's fortitude is unshakable, and his mission is crystal clear. President Trump said it again yesterday. We have all the time in the world, and we're not anxious for a deal. And I hear him say it every day in private as well. Iran knows that they still have an open window to choose wisely. As we said previously, choose wisely at the negotiating table. All they have to do is abandon a nuclear weapon in meaningful and verifiable ways, or instead they can watch their regime's fragile economic state collapse under the unrelenting pressure of American power. A blockade as long as it takes, whatever President Trump decides. Because the bottom line remains the bottom line. Iran will never get a nuclear bomb. The choice is theirs, but with this blockade, the clock is not on their side. Moreover, President Trump has authorized the United States Navy to destroy any Iranian fast boats that attempt to put mines in the water or disrupt passage through the Strait of Hormuz, to shoot and kill. Our commanders have clear rules of engagement. If Iran is putting mines in the water or otherwise threatening American commercial shipping or American forces, we will shoot to destroy. No hesitation, just like the drug boats in the Caribbean. It's also worth saying, this should not be America's fight alone We barely use the Strait of Hormuz as a country. Our energy doesn't flow through there, and we have plenty of energy. Just look at the new.
Yes, that's true. But again, this is a global market, not necessarily just now. Again, he is speaking theoretically to an international audience, but he's always going to cater to Americans, right? And try to make it look a certain way or sound a certain way. But anyways,
energy doesn't flow through there.
Even though we don't get it from there, it is a global market. Now, what he is going to point out is like, hey, we've got plenty of it. Come buy it from us and use the US dollar doing it. You're not going to be using no BRICS nation shit. You're not going to be using the yen. Not going to be using any of that shit. You're going to be using the US dollar. So yes, we do have the oil for it, but I wish we could actually fucking sell it.
And we have plenty of energy. Just look at the new global Congo line headed to Texas. A beautiful picture. Europe and Asia have benefited from our protection for decades, but the time for free riding is over. America and the free world deserve allies who are capable, who are loyal, and who understand that being an ally is not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. We are not counting on Europe, but they need the Strait of Hormuz much more than we do, and might want to start doing less talking and having less fancy conferences in Europe and get in a boat. This is much more their fight than ours. On this core mission, America's will is unshakable, our capabilities unmatched. Our blockade is only growing and going global. And as the president said, we have all the time in the world. Iran has a historic chance to make a serious deal, and the ball is in their court. Either way, the War Department stands ready for what comes next, locked and loaded. May God continue to bless our warriors each and every day and on each and every mission. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone.
All right, now we get to hear from General Kane.
Thanks for being here. Today marks 55 days since the President of the United States ordered major combat operations against Iran.
Today is day 55. Interesting.
This morning, the Joint Force remains postured and prepared to recommence major combat operations on the order of the President. On April 8th, the President announced a ceasefire, and last week, at the President's direction and on order of the Secretary, U.S. CENTCOM began enforcing a blockade against all commercial vessels going into and out of Iran and their ports. Simultaneously, the U.S. military, in support of the U.S. Department of Justice, was ordered to conduct maritime.
It would be me, William, the owner of the channel. Yes, sir. Great to see you in the chat.
Interdiction operations against sanctioned and dark fleet vessels globally. This operation also began on April 8th. And what I'd like to do this morning is update all of you on those actions and activities. First, as I mentioned, U.S. Central Command continues to maintain a strict blockade on all the ports. We're enforcing the blockade across the board against any ship of any nationality that is transiting to or from an Iranian port or territory. We're closely tracking vessels of interest headed towards Iran and those moving away from Iran that were outside the blockade area when this blockade was ordered. And as everyone saw this past weekend, we're prepared and postured to intercept them. As of this morning, 34 ships have met the U.S. blockade and made the wise choice to turn around. One ship did not, and that ship was the motor vessel Tuska. Over several hours this past Sunday, April 19th, the U.S. conducted maritime interdiction operations against the Tuska, whose crew attempted to breach the blockade line. The Tuska is a large container ship, about 965 feet long, or about the same size as a United States Navy aircraft carrier, and over 100 feet wide. The operation began about
100-foot beam. Damn.
4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time when the United States Navy destroyer approached her, and the crew and the vessel ignored warnings. And I've described how the destroyer force is operating in the area prior. Upon intercept and coming within visual range, American forces began to issue several clear and unambiguous warnings and inform the vessel and their crew that they were in a violation of the U.S. blockade and directed the ship to turn around. Over a 6-hour period, the vessel and her crew repeatedly ignored U.S. warnings. And then the U.S. Navy destroyer executed a series of pre-planned, carefully calibrated escalation options, including firing 5 warning shots. The vessel and her crew continued to ignore warnings. And after exhausting all other measures, CENTCOM authorized disabling fire against the Tuska. U.S. sailors warned the crew of the Tuska to abandon the engine room, and at approximately 9 a.m. Eastern time,
that's when 3 big ass rounds went and hit through the hole and into the engine and blowing the engine up, essentially.
The destroyer disabled the Tuska's engine by firing 9 inert rounds from the...
Wow, it was 9. I heard it was 3. Even reports showing it was 3. But interesting, it was 9.
Destroyer's Mark 45 5-inch guns precisely into the engine room and engine...
Man, 5-inch guns, dude. Oh,
space
shit.
on board the Tuska. Not surprisingly, the vessel then reported issues with their engine, went dead in the water, and began to comply with U.S. directions and orders. At 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, CENTCOM ordered United States Marines to seize the ship. Via helicopters, U.S. Marines maneuvered quickly to the disabled ship, boarded her from fast ropes via helicopter infiltration methods, and took custody of the ship. The ship and her crew remain safe in U.S. custody today. Let me now turn to global operations in the Pacific, and I want to highlight that this is a major interagency effort between the United States military, the White House, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. On Monday, April 20th, U.S. Indo-PACOM forces, in support of a Department of Justice request, interdicted the motor tanker Tiffany, which was transporting sanctioned Iranian oil.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I've been talking shit on NATO for years. I've been saying for years we need to get out of the NATO. We need to get out of NATO. We need to get out of the UN. We need to get out of all that bullshit. It's all crap. It's all crap.
The Tiffany is a very large crude tanker, VLCC for short, and is also about the size of a U.S. aircraft carrier and capable of transporting approximately 2 million barrels of oil. At approximately 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. military forces and law enforcement forces also went to the ship via rotary wing platforms, fast roped onto her deck, and secured her. After the ship was secured, a U.S. Navy control team embarked aboard the Tiffany, and assumed control of the ship at 4 a.m. Eastern Time on April 21st. A Navy control team is comprised of sailors led by a boarding officer that assumes control of a seized ship in order to secure the crew, the cargo, and the vessel. And disposition of that first vessel is still pending. The next interdiction occurred on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, 22 April.
That's very, very untrue. You can't make that claim. I actually have video proof on this very channel. Back when Biden was in office, I've been talking shit on NATO for years, dude. Where have you been? You know that I've been saying this shit for years. There's no way you haven't heard me say that shit. Even Black Dragon's heard me say that shit years ago. He's like, what? Why NATO? Like, oh my God, I'm not going to do this conversation with you. You know what I mean? Yeah, anyways, but yes, I've been an advocate against definitely someone that's against NATO and UN.
When Indo-PACOM conducted yet another interdiction, again at the request of the U.S. Department of Justice. This time, the stateless motor tanker Majestic X, also known as the Ponix, also in the Indian Ocean. This is again a VLCC, or very large crude tanker. At approximately 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. forces began the interdiction, again using rotary wing assets to get to the ship, got on board, and secured the bridge. Both ships, the Tiffany, the Majestic X, and their crews remain in U.S. custody. And we will continue to conduct similar maritime interdiction actions and activities in the Pacific and Indian Oceans against Iranian ships and vessels of the Dark Fleet. The actions by our service members and our law enforcement partners demonstrate the incredible discipline and dedication and professionalism of our joint force and highlight the global reach of American combat power.
So he's basically just thanking the Israeli military.
The joint force remains on ensuring the Iranian regime cannot harm our interests or those of our allies and partners. And I'll highlight that Iran has repeatedly sought to offensively and proactively expand the conflict by aggression against its neighbors and its attacks on global shipping through the Strait. To date, Iran has attacked 5 merchant vessels, seized 2 of them that were attempting to transit the Strait. And these include ships that Iran itself had cleared to proceed. Now, as I always do, I want to honor members of the Joint Force. Today, I want to highlight and proudly describe the essential role of our intelligence enterprise and the role that they play in conducting our military operations. The totality of their work is the culmination of days, months, and in many cases, years of work by our uniformed and civilian intelligence professionals. We have been able to do the work that we are ordered to do because America's intelligence force, including our core collectors and analysts, have spent decades searching for every loose thread. From the determination of a particular intelligence requirement to that piece of intelligence being collected in the field by a military or interagency case officer to the rigorous analysis that goes into reporting on that finding, those team members spend their careers answering the incredibly important questions that we must attempt to answer before, during, and after operation.
Real quick, just little side note here. Gary says, who owns 90% of U.S. News networks? Absolutely. All mainstream media is actually somewhat tied to Israel, actually, believe it or not, as well. But that goes without saying in that aspect. But that's exactly why you guys don't see me ever presenting news of like opinion pieces. I show you guys what's actually happening, like such as this news conference, right? We're not just talking about the news conference or going to some Fox anchor that is talking about what happened. I'm showing you guys actually what is happening. So that's why I always get kind of like a little butthurt when people are like, "Oh, I don't fucking listen to mainstream media. I'm not gonna listen to fucking you because you've got Fox on or whatever." I'm like, dude, just because I've got Fox that is recording the actual whole ordeal, I'm not showing you the opinion pieces. I'm showing you the fucking what's actually happening. That's why we do this very show, is to show you what is actually happening and being stated by governmental officials and keeping people accountable as well.
They live in the enemy's mind. Normally located behind the green door, behind the vault door, in dark windowless rooms across the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, are world-class intel members from DIA, our service intelligence components, NSA, NGA, CIA, NRO, and in the case of the operations that I've just described, the Office of Naval Intelligence, all work tirelessly to sift through the mountains of collected information using tools, tactics, techniques, and procedures that I'm not going to discuss today. The sun never sets on these world-class professionals, and their goal is every minute of every day to be on the account. And they know the enemy. They know their combat capability, their weapons, their industrial and economic systems, and they know their leaders' pattern of life, where they go, what they think, and what they do. Thanks to their work, we know Iran, and it is an incredible work that they do. Again, none of our operations that we've conducted during my time in this job could have been done without the service of these intelligence professionals. And the distance from those core collectors and those analysts to those Patriot crews who are defending U.S. forces.
I'm surprised they've gone this far with their monologue. Usually by now they're in questions. Usually their front half of the whole thing usually is only about 15. Sometimes, a little less. But it's interesting that it's taken this long to get to questions, actually. Usually we're there by now.
Forward or the fighter pilots is incredibly small. Every single day, as their motto say, they are committed to excellence in the defense of the nation and to securing the future, and they're doing the work of the nation. Before I close, as I do every time, I want to highlight and remember our fallen. Today, I want to highlight the 63 victims of the terrorist bombing of the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, which occurred 43 years ago, just a few days ago on April 18th.
Okay, I was like, when did this happen?
1983.
Okay.
At that time, this was the deadliest attack on a U.S. diplomatic mission, and this was the first attack conducted by Iranian-backed forces on Americans. The suicide bomber detonated a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device out in front of the embassy, killing 63 innocent people, including 32 Lebanese, 14 visitors, and 17 Americans. And among those lost, members of the joint force to include 3 Army soldiers and 1 United States Marine. We remember their names: Sergeant First Class Richard Twine, Staff Sergeant Ben Maxwell, Staff Sergeant Mark Salazar, and United States Marine Corporal Vincent McMaw. Today, we remember them. We carry on their memory and the memory of all our fallen, and remain grateful for their sacrifice and that of their families, who continue to show us what courage looks like. As we continue to press forward and maintain these operations, the Secretary, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I are deeply humbled by the spirit, tenacity, and commitment and grit of the 2.8 million members of our joint force. The Secretary and I thank every member of the joint force engaged in this operation, every warrior who remains deployed or who is supporting from here at home. Thank you to, and thank you to your families. Sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right,
you,
questions.
We'll take a few questions.
Thank you. In your estimation, have there been increased or decreased instances of Iranian vessels either approaching or trying to breach the blockade the longer it is in effect? And another question about the mine threat. Has the mine threat been neutralized enough to facilitate freer flow in the straits?
Well, to the second question, first of all, we are seeing vessels transiting. There are paths that are open. And part of what the president is threatening is ensuring if there's attempts to recklessly and irresponsibly lay more mines, we're going to deal with that. It's a violation of the ceasefire. So transit is occurring, much more limited than anybody would like to see, and with more risk than people would like to see. But that's because Iran is doing irresponsible things with small, fast boats, crafts, like I said, with weapons on them. These are commercial ships, in some cases, cruise ships that came through being threatened by these. So as far as
cruise ships, I haven't seen any cruise ships be subject to anything over there. I would assume that cruise ships wouldn't be taking 2,000 people on a ship that is a target over through the strait. Give me a break. What?
Reaching the blockade, it's been a pretty consistent. There were a number of ships at the beginning. Then you had the interdiction that the chairman described, where we took out the engine room and disabled that ship. I think that sent a very clear sign that this is not a fake blockade. This is a real, full blockade. We'll use up to and including lethal force if necessary. And that stopped, and other ships have taken note of that. So any ships that have attempted, there's been levels of escalation, but none that far, and they've turned around. Absolutely, yes.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zia, Real America's Voice.
Dang, Shyla. So you're saying 7 cruise ships just got out. Did they actually have passengers trying to leave the area? Why were they even over there? What did they just happen to get stuck over there during this whole ordeal back before the war started or something, or back before they closed the strait? Let me know. That's interesting.
To follow up on Alexandra's question, how big are these mine-laying boats? Can they be achieved from fast boats? And I wanted to follow up my last
Of course
question
it can.
About
it can happen from very small fishing boats. It can happen from tugboats. It can happen from fast speedboats. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's not that complicated.
Jet fuel stocks in Europe reportedly are only about 6 weeks left. They get most of their jet fuel from the Gulf. Have any European countries reached out to assist in cordoning off the strait? And
I appreciate that, Shyla. That's awesome. Actually, I will be looking it up. You definitely let me know the YouTube channel. It's called What's Going On with Shipping. I'm going to check that out because I come from the maritime world, right? I sailed for all my career, actually, up until I lost my leg. So anyways, back to this.
Participating in escorts.
I will check that out.
I know there's a lot of talks. You saw I would call it a silly conference in Europe last week.
No, absolutely. Bob, but here's again what I'm getting at. It's irrelevant. It wouldn't matter if this was CNN right now. There is no opinions coming from what I'm showing you what is actually happening. When there's political analysts that come up, I always state, I'm the guy that I'm the analyst, you know what I mean? I'll answer the question, and we don't need to hear what this guy's got to say. You hear me say that every single day. You know what I mean? So the point is just showing what the facts are. And that's why I always think that it's low IQ people that come in here and go, oh, I'm not watching this because he's watching Fox. It's like, well, if you just watch for a second, you would actually see that I'm not showing you opinions. I'm showing you what is happening, right? What is being said by these officials. That's the point, right?
Where they got together and talking about maybe doing something eventually when things.
What's up, Rabbit of Chaos? Good
those
morning.
Are not serious efforts yet. We would welcome that. We would welcome a serious European effort to do something about this strait and this passage, considering it's their energy capabilities that are most at stake. I think it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for countries around the world. Either you have capabilities or you don't. Otherwise, you're at the behest of a country like Iran, and the only country that can.
Man, I very much appreciate that, Cameron. We're doing our absolute best. That's why we give our best every single day, and we try to be 1% better every day, right? And that's why that's why we keep doing this every day. You know what I mean? We're consistent. We're here every day on time, except for the diamond effect. That's not due to me. Just saying. But you know, it is what it is. We try our best over here.
Do something about it. Is the United States military. Do you want to talk about the mines and the small crafts?
They have a variety of smaller Boston whaler-sized boats. We have forces up there deterring and preventing them from continuing to do that, and we'll continue.
That's a great question, by the way, Steve Easy. Theoretically, yes, the IBU, the Inland Boatmen's Union, is theoretically a branch of the ILWU, International Longshoremen's Warehouse Union. So anyways, we were a branch of the ILWU, correct. And I also was a shop steward. I helped negotiate for different contracts within, as the employee and the employee standpoint, but I was the shop steward for a short bit as well.
Continue to do so
during
pursuant to the orders of the
negotiations.
Secretary and the President.
But it would reckless mining like that.
I went through 3 rounds of negotiations.
That is a violation of the
Unwise
ceasefire,
to do that.
and very unwise to do. Absolutely. Jerry.
Thank you. Pope Leo has made some stride comments about the war in Iran in the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops.
Man, I really appreciate. Man, that's a big compliment. Thank you, Shiloh. That's a humongous W. Thank you for
They
that.
put out a statement suggesting that the war does not fit the requirements of just war theory. And I wondered if the Pentagon had thought about this war against the terrorist regime in Iran in terms of the framework of a just war, and if either one of you could talk about that. And then just my second question would be, the Pentagon recently, this week, gave well-deserved award upgrades to the members of Gulf Company 2-1 Marines who served at HKI and Abbey Gate during the
This guy asking a long-ass question.
A few moments later.
withdrawal and evacuation. I wonder if you Mr. Secretary, could speak a little bit about that and maybe give us a little bit more in terms of what to expect from this Afghanistan review in terms of.
Listen, I think that you probably have figured out something about me. There's a common thing. I'm pretty decent in politics, right? Whether that be some organizational shit, whether that be an MC shit, whether that be unions, whether that be politics that I'm actually involved in. Vote J.R. Bowling, by the way, for District 4, Alabama State Senate. Absolutely. But you know what I mean? Like, I think I've done somewhat decent in politics in general. So it's definitely gotten me to where I am today, for sure, doing all of those things.
Further proper recognition and proper accountability.
On the first question, Pope's going to do his thing. That's fine. We know what our mission is. We know what authority we have. We're very clear about that. We follow that. The orders of the president. We've got lawyers all over the place looking at what we're doing and why we're doing it and giving us every authority necessary under the Constitution and under our laws to execute it. So we feel very confident across the spectrum about what we're doing and why we're doing and the legal justification that we're following in order to do it. You mentioned the Marines at Abbey Gate. And what we've undertaken at this department is a historic Afghanistan review. So we have, over the course of months, reviewed what happened leading up to and including the events at Abbey Gate and the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. There's never actually been a full accounting in this department of the decisions that were made. There's been sort of papered over congressional attempts, but never a real deep dive where we brought everybody in to talk about what happened and why it happened. That has happened. That review will come later this summer, and I think you'll find it to be probably the most.
Boy, isn't that fucking true, Steve. That's why I love that we have gone more towards the merit-based ideology now, more merit-based, I don't necessarily mind politics either. Obviously, you see that I do fairly well in it, but it is about that. And also how they use, once power is granted, how do they handle that? How do they handle handling money? How do they handle policy? I mean, there's all these things, right? So, of course, man.
Comprehensive review this department has ever done about a single series of events. And it's because the cascading effect of what Joe Biden did in abandoning that mission the way that he did and that disastrous withdrawal had ripple effects for our military, for our country, and for the world.
Yeah, but sadly, John L. Stewart, we haven't had congressional approval from any war since World War II. So it's kind of a moot point. I mean, because it's not just Trump that's done this. It's been almost every single fucking president since World War II. You know what I mean? So I'm just stating that, yes, that's why these things are called operations, even though, yes, it is a fucking war. It's obvious. But that whole congressional approval argument is kind of a moot point.
That's why reestablishing deterrence is one of the core pillars of what we've been doing at the War Department, because the world looked at that disaster and made choices. Vladimir Putin made choices. Hamas made choices and saw that America wouldn't do anything about it. Houthis shot at ships. They made choices because Joe Biden and his administration were seen as feckless and weak. And that withdrawal was a part of what the world saw. People hanging to planes as we fled. That deserves a full accounting, which is exactly what we're doing. Sean Parnell our chief spokesman, one of my senior advisors, has been
wow,
leading
we're
that
almost at
effort,
2 hours,
getting to the
everybody.
bottom of it. And
Holy shit, we're at 1 hour 58 minutes and 38 seconds. Wow, make sure you guys hit the like button. We definitely did big overtime today. So a whole show's worth of overtime. Holy shit.
Revelations was that those Marines at Abbey Gate who showed courage, who were out there exposed, knew there was a threat, nebulous mission, the only gate that's open, did not receive the kind of proper recognition they should have for their heroism. So one of the early results of this Afghan review is to ensure they get the due recognition and award they deserve for the heroism and courage they showed at that gate. Despite the bad decisions of this building and that administration, those Marines acted heroically, and we're going to recognize them for that. Jerry, thank you. Yeah, right here.
Thank you. Michael Casey with Oak Heath Media Group.
This will be the last question we take. Even though we're very close to the end, this is the last one we're going to take.
Earlier this week, James O'Keefe published a story on Department of Army Nuclear Chief Andrew Hugg, who revealed top secret national security information to a stranger he met on a dating app. Will you defer Mr. Hugg for termination and prosecution?
Yeah, he won't work here anymore.
And given the revelations, will
an easy one.
Will any changes be made to the current anti-espionage training for all Department of War employees now, given this?
Well, we're always on the lookout for CI threats, any internal threats, anyone talking out of school about things they should not. We take leaking very seriously.
Yeah, Rabbit of Chaos. There was a lot of information on this live stream, to be honest.
Here, informally or formally, which is why some of the reporting done by some of the people in here is incredibly problematic. They're willing to publish things based on classified information that would potentially...
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about what ought be, John. Okay, here's the difference between me and you that are what we're talking about here. I am talking about what is. I'm not talking about what ought be or what should be or what it absolutely should be. I'm not talking about that. Unfortunately, I'm living in reality, right? And so I'm just telling you what reality is. Whether I even agree with it or disagree with it, it's actually irrelevant. But I'm telling you what it is, right?
Harm those in harm's way. And we think them doing so is incredibly irresponsible and unpatriotic. And it would encourage members of the press to think twice about the lives they're affecting when they publish things in their publications like the New York Times. Yes, right here.
We'll take the last one here. Damn it.
Sir, I'm sorry, the question's right here.
Thank you. Ryan Morgan with the Epic Times. Earlier this week on that topic, there was a report, I believe, with the Washington Post that the Pentagon had briefed Congress that it could take up to 6 months to fully sweep the Strait of Hormuz for...
Damn, I didn't know that.
...mines. I was wondering if you could comment a little bit more on the specifics of the time...
Man, that would be terrible if it took us 6 months to sweep the fucking thing. Oh, my God. Oh, that's terrible.
The range of time that it could take, and then just a general idea of how many mines have been placed.
We would not speculate on a timeline. I saw that report. It was based on, again, another leak from a closed-door session, which was supposed to be classified, and apparently, allegedly, that was something that was said about we feel confident in our ability in the correct period of time to...
We're definitely doing it today, Dean.
...clear any mines that we identify, and would encourage other countries to be a part of such an effort as well. But we're tracking that very closely. Mr. Chairman, do you want to add anything to that?
All right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and end it there. Listen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough. Obviously, I cannot do this without you guys and your guys' support, your guys' contributions, engagement, all of it. Hitting the like, chatting, all of it. Very much appreciate you guys. Listen, stick around. We're going to be rating our friend Grid One Motorsports. He's live right now, so make sure you guys stick around for that. He is an unreasonable man, as they call him. So make sure you guys stick around for that, as well as thank you all. We're going to be back tomorrow morning for members only. So if you guys got a gifted membership or any of that, we're going to have members only where we don't talk about any of this crazy shit. We talk about funny shit. We have a good time. We laugh. We get whatever, you know, we those are the type of things we do on members only. We don't talk about any of this shit. Anyways, then of course Sunday is our 1 day off. So we'll be back tomorrow morning for members only, and then we're gonna have Back to the World's Madness on Monday. So anyways, much love, honor, respect to you all. We'll see you guys here in a little bit, and be safe, everyone. God bless.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken, he rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar.